From WCRS Studios in Greenwood, South Carolina, this is Meet Me at the Diner with your host, Ann Eller.
Oh, that's right. We're right here at WCRS this afternoon, and boy, do I have two top-notch guests flown in on a bird right here to South Carolina. Yes, it's true. A Greenwood native, Nat Chandler, and an outsider, Joseph Thalke, who is here to accompany him tomorrow night at a fabulous Greenwood Performing Arts event at the Art Center. I did get the word it's sold out. But we decided to go ahead with this because everybody needs to know about Nat Chandler and Joseph Thalke. So good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon to Nat and Joseph. How y'all doing today?
Thank you, Ann. We're
great.
doing great, and
Yeah.
it's great to be here with you.
Absolutely. It's kind of fun to be back in Greenwood, isn't it, Nat?
It's always great to be home. I'm with my mom. I remember the last time I was here was with my dad. And when you interviewed us, you were saying was that 2015. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, great to see you. It's great to be home in Greenwood.
Right. And your dad used to sing on WCRS radio.
Yes, he did. He would come to this very station. I was telling Joe they had some acts that would play here and,
Right.
and broadcast, and he had great memories of all that. He was a amazing guy, of course.
Well, back in the day of radio, everything was live.
Right.
It wasn't all this pre-recorded stuff that's in there.
Right. It's not unlike doing concert. You're live, and that's the great thing about theater. And
So the problem is, here's the problem. So if you screw up when you're live, Nat, it's a problem, isn't it?
well, you could say it's a problem, but 9 times out of 10, audiences love it when you mess up. They love it if you have to take it back. I try never to do that, but it occasionally happens.
Yeah.
You trip, you fall on your face. That's very funny.
Yeah. And some people do it for real, right?
Yeah,
do it because they want it.
Exactly.
It's not the comedic effect.
Exactly. When in Camelot, I was touring with Robert Goulet playing King Arthur. I was playing Lancelot, and at the same time, every night with Pellinore, he would pretend to go up, and they would go off on a tangent, and the audiences lapped it up every night.
Right.
So, part of vaudevillian routine. Yeah.
Well, I love that kind of stuff myself.
Yeah.
I think, and that adds a lot to it. So is there going to be any comedy in tomorrow night's routine? Let me ask.
There might be.
There might be.
A little bit, yes.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah. So, Joseph, where are you from originally?
Originally from Southern California. I was born in Los Angeles and raised in a town called Ontario.
We won't hold that against you.
Please, I appreciate that.
Southern California. All right.
Right.
And how did y'all meet? How did you?
I was a Northwestern as an undergrad. Nat was there as a graduate student, and we met. I was playing for his voice teacher, and Nat walked in, and we became friends shortly after that, and just have remained best friends for decades now.
Joe was playing Gershwin F major piano concerto with the orchestra, and I went to see it, and he just blew everybody away. He was really a child prodigy, one of the great pianists of his generation, and I knew then Joseph was going places, and he certainly has gone places. Yeah.
So that's why you've stayed close to him.
Well, that is really one of the big reasons. In addition to the fact that we have great senses of humor, we see eye to eye on lots of things, and we became friends like all friends become friends.
Absolutely.
But it was a fringe benefit that he was such a great musician and that he appreciated my gifts as well.
Well, now, Joseph, you are a composer.
I am.
You play all over. Where were you just recently?
I was recently in London playing for Hugh Panara, and then in Ann Arbor, Michigan, playing recently for Bernadette Peters.
Now, how is that to play for Bernadette Peters?
It's great. She's wonderful. I'm not her regular guy. She has several different people, but I play for her off and on, and she's lovely.
She's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She really is quite a talent,
Yes.
too. And you said you were going to be playing with her again.
Playing with her again, coming up this weekend in Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. Not a bad gig if you can get it, huh?
Exactly.
Well, that's great. That's great. Now, you also have composed some pretty impressive things in your lifetime. I mean, I think people need to know. I mean, we all know Nat. But do we know Joseph is what I should say.
Yes.
I mean, what can we discuss about Joseph here?
I have a CD that just came out. It's a piece that was commissioned by a dance company in Dallas. It's a chamber orchestra piece called Chasing Home. And the other piece on the recording is Appalachian Spring by Aaron Copland. And so it's great to be sharing billing with Aaron Copland on this new release.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and outside of that, I have some possible commissions coming up and different shows, different musical theater pieces I'm working on.
Well, I did look up. It looked like you did the musical theater for a very old show, a very old movie that I remember that I don't even think would be appropriate today, but Harold and Maude.
Yes.
And you did the musical composing for that,
I
correct?
did, yes, with a writer named Tom Jones, not to be confused with the singer Tom Jones.
Okay.
And Tom Jones was most well known for having written The Fantastics, the musical.
Oh, sure, of course.
And other musicals I do, 110 in the Shade. And great guy. He passed away just a little over a year ago. But yeah, we wrote a version of Harold and Maude, and it's been done a number of different theaters. And Tom had a very unique take on it because he was looking at, as an older person, looking on the story. It was written by a man who was very young at the time.
Was it really
Yes.
originally? Oh, I didn't know
Colin
that.
Higgins. He was a brilliant writer. And but Tom had a different take on it, and it shows up in the musical. And it's a wonderful take, I think, on the story.
Well, I always love that. Love the movie
It's a
because
great
I saw
movie,
the
yeah.
movie. And, just to see this crazy old lady, I just thought it was terrific.
Yes.
And but I don't think something like that could be done today. Do you?
It would be harder today. I think there would be more roadblocks
Right.
for people to get over.
Right, exactly.
It's definitely a product of its time, the movie.
You know, and that's the thing I think we forget, Nat. I mean, we forget about things being done in the period that they're done, and then we poo-poo them in today's world.
Yeah.
But if you really take it back to the time, it makes you understand the time that much
Absolutely.
better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it is unfair to judge historical pieces through the prism of present day. Hopefully we evolve and we develop, better ideas. But a period, something written in the 50s about something maybe that might be today controversial then wasn't. I think there's still value there, and so
Well, it makes you understand the times,
Absolutely.
too.
Yes,
I think that's the
absolutely.
thing. And I think from a historical standpoint, we lose that because when you see some shows, you can really understand what they were trying to say at that time.
Yes. And then there are some classics, like there are many Rodgers and Hammerstein classics that remain relevant today as they're written over 75 years ago.
Sure.
They're themes that, these guys that wrote these shows were trying to push. And they did so very, innocently and sweetly, but the message is there and remain relevant. Yeah.
I think so. I think, but I do think that sometimes our uptightness in the world today forgets what was going on at the time when
Right.
these things were written.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that. So, Nat, you have been, I understand you've gotten into real estate in a big way. I mean, you're still singing, but I
Yeah.
mean, you've also gotten into real estate.
Yeah. I'm working for Brown Harris Stevens, as a independent contractor, of course, a very old and distinguished brokerage in Manhattan, and I'm selling some very beautiful apartments. And
Inexpensive?
Yes, very, very inexpensive, Anne. I've got one really for you, a 3-bedroom on Park Avenue that I know you're going to love.
Well, really, what's the price? Let me get my checkbook
Oh, it's
out.
only about $4.5 million.
4.5
Yeah,
million.
yeah,
Steal.
no problem.
A steal. So how many of those do you have to sell a year to keep yourself in the style you have become accustomed to, Nat?
Oh, about a half of one.
Oh, that's
No.
good. That's good.
Yeah, no. It's I had studied architecture and art at the Birkbeck School at University of London in the late 70s, and I was interested. I might have gone to Clemson to study architecture, but Furman was offering me a bigger scholarship in music, and I went to Furman, and I knew I was at the right place. But that is to say, I grew up drawing floor plans. I've got a whole books of floor plans that I drew as a kid, and it made the transition into this real estate salesperson more natural than it might appear otherwise.
Sure. And I mean, because you've got a good basis of understanding and
Yeah.
probably why things are built the way they're built. Like you just can't take that main beam out and expect everything to stay, right?
Yes, exactly. And people often say, "Oh, you've got a nice personality. You should be able to do that." Well, it's that's just a fraction of what it's really the knowledge of buildings, how co-ops work versus condominium.
All the law.
All the law, and and the rule. Yes, all of that. It goes, and there's nothing like knowledge to persuade a buyer.
What about singing? Does singing help in persuading a buyer? Have you ever said,
Occasionally.
if you buy this condo, I'll do a concert for you?
Yes. Well, I have done a few concerts for my clients that, we do a parlor entertainment or something like that. Because they call me the singing real estate broker. But, it's kind of a fun balance. And, one gets older. It's not as much pressure to, absolutely stay in 100% shape to sing. It's a very physical action, singing, and so I've been taking a little bit of break and singing, running out to do an occasional date, and I like it. I like that, not being completely dependent on show business at this stage in my career. Having a little second act feels nice.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think, when did you actually get into real estate?
It was in the late like 2016, 17.
So before COVID happened.
Yes, before COVID happened. And then,
Thank God you got into that, right?
Yeah, so I got all the groundwork done, and then COVID happened, and the bottom fell out, and the real estate market shut down. But coming back into it, it was the best year that I had, because everybody who had moved to Florida from New York realized they had to live in Florida. Nothing against Florida, but they missed New York, and so they all.
New York is a unique environment.
It's a unique environment. So I sold their apartments leaving, and then I bought them apartments coming back in, and as value increased with more people coming in, supply and demand,
right? I
just had a heyday of a year. So COVID had a silver lining.
The silver lining. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Now, how is New York? When we're sitting down here in South Carolina, we see all the illegals. We see the Roosevelt Hotel being used for immigrant housing and everything. How is New York?
I think it's been great. I think it's recovered.
Well, how is the
well.
immigrant population? Should we be afeared about going to New York?
I don't think so. We were just talking about this earlier. The ones we see are working hard. They're going sometimes through trains selling chocolates, or they're working fruit stands.
Yeah.
Or they're not. The ones that I've seen are trying to work to better themselves and to help the city in a way to help people get better food, or they're not sitting around drinking beer and causing a ruckus.
Yeah, it's been the opposite experience for us. I'm very touched by their entrepreneurial spirit and their kindness, and trying to make they have babies with them, and they are just attempting to make a better life for themselves, fleeing whatever torture they've come from. So I do hear this though from the provinces, people that don't live in New York or might, should we be afraid? And I say, come to New York because it's vibrant. And like the Hotel Roosevelt you mentioned, or the Milford Plaza, they've been dedicated by the mayor as for housing. But there might be 1.5 million other fabulous hotels that you can stay in. These happen to be big ones that could, help the immigrant
population.
Challenge. Yeah. And
but we just haven't had any negative experiences with it.
I have had no negative experience whatsoever.
More so with the tourists than
You have more negative with the tourists.
And also,
Okay, all right.
it's
not the ones from Greenwood.
Yeah, right.
But also one has to look historically. Most immigrant classes are vilified as they come into the country. Nobody wants the Italians coming in. Nobody wants the Irish coming in, or the Jewish people coming in when they came in. But everybody got used to it and assimilated, and I kind of see a similar kind of knee-jerk reaction. It's slightly different, but I think the whole immigrant thing has been politicized somewhat.
Well, I mean, everything is politicized, but they just talk about the cost to the city and how much it's costing, and that Adams has. I mean, this is a little off our topic, but Adams has talked about how the city cannot afford to keep doing this.
Right.
Yes,
right.
One agrees, and one thinks we should attempt to do something about immigration. It's a very popular issue to run on,
right?
And so, but let's not do anything about it because it's a good thing to run a campaign.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are just concerned about going to New York City, and yet it's always been. I mean, it's Christmas time. The stores, the decorations, the whole scene is just so lovely.
I don't feel any less safe than I've felt there.
No,
in the last
nor
10,
do
15
I.
years.
And when you look at New York, when you're walking around, restaurants are packed, theaters are brimming. The radio. I passed the Christmas tree, which is being put up now at Rockefeller Center, and it's just the streets are crowded with tourists and New Yorkers as ever. And so maybe if you have hesitation about coming, if you don't like crowds, don't come.
Okay. Well, I was just curious since you live there because you don't really have that. You don't really know when you know what you see on TV.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
So, well, that's good to know. So you're here for this concert, Nate. Nat, how did this happen? How did this come together?
Well, Lisa Sanders from the Greenwood Performing Arts, called me and said, we want to have you on the series. What do you think? And I called Joseph and I said, what do you think? Can you make this date?
And he said, let me look at my calendar.
Yes, he did. He said, let me shoehorn you in. And
it'll cost a little extra, but I'll get you in there. I got it.
That's exactly right. You got it on the head. Interesting. I'm singing this. I'm doing some old songs from the Great American Songbook, and one of the lyrics, "The subway charms us so when lofty breezes blow to and fro," and it speaks of a more innocent time. But to our subject we were just talking about, I think people will think, "Oh, the subway is so bad, big bad," but thousands of people, including us, take the subway every single day without incident, and we see.
And there have always been crazy people in any big city,
sure,
and any small town,
Yeah.
So it's just any place where you have a lot of people, you're going to have a few crazies, but it's the same all over. So.
Okay, all right. So the veil has been lifted on New York City here
Thank
this
you.
afternoon.
Come on.
I think that's great. So you're singing from the Great American Songbook. What's your favorite song to sing?
Oh gosh, that is such a hard question. I'm privileged to sing so many great songs, but I guess the golden era fit me as a lyric baritone. The the Camelot, the If Ever I Would Leave You, the songs from Rodgers and Hammerstein, some old songs. I'm doing a Rodgers and Hart set, which just go straight to the heart. They're like watching a Turner Classic movie. They tell a great story, and they can be romantic or funny, and so I love doing those. But I guess I would say I love singing a Broadway song because it's so actable and rich with imagery, and it really helps the singer. I also am singing a couple of Rat Pack tunes. I've played Dean Martin for about a decade, going out to different orchestras around the country, and I
didn't know you did that.
I did a solo Dean Martin show called Dino in Philadelphia about 7 or 8 years ago. And
how was it to be drunk all the time?
Oh, it was like rolling off a log. It was very natural.
You never know what you're going to get asked on this show.
You never know. I love
that's
it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Love it. But so anyway, it's hard to pinpoint an exact song, but I am singing my song as Lancelot. I'm talking about my history with Robert Goulet and my history with Yul Brynner, singing some King and I favorites. I'm kind of touching on all these in a century of song, touching on different eras. Some music that from Broadway shows that may have been forgotten, but the music certainly hasn't been for a good reason, and I'm recreating some of those.
Now, when you were growing up here in Greenwood, South Carolina, did you ever think you'd be singing with Robert Goulet, Yul Brynner, and any of these?
Never.
And how did you feel when they said, "Oh, well, we want you to play in this role here"?
Well, I tell you. It's funny because my dad is a singer.
Right.
And so one of my first Christmases I can remember, I got a stereo set and with speakers and turntable and the King and I album. And I got each birthday I would get albums, and I would just play the albums to death. So when I was singing, when I first moved to New York, I was pounding the pavement looking for work. I was singing in the Russian choruses of Boris Godunov and Khovanshina at the Metropolitan Opera, and working as a waiter at the Café des Artistes.
Waiter, okay.
At 1 West 67th Street, and I was serving martinis to Jackie Gleason before 11 o'clock, and Lauren Bacall, Gene Hackman, Mary Tyler Moore, Shirley MacLaine. They all.
So when's the book coming out?
Well, there is a book in there.
Okay,
but
go ahead.
Through that waiting experience, one of the tables said, "You should sing. There's an audition for Lunta, the young Burmese prince, and King and I. You should go to my agent and get an." I did, and I walked in the door to the audition. I sang this song, "I Have Dreamed," which I had learned as a child and listening over and over, and I walked out with my professional equity card and a plane ticket to Cleveland to join Mr. Brynner in that show. So
what did you say after? Well, okay, you get this. Okay, now can you remember back? I mean, I realize it was a while ago.
Ancient history.
Ancient history. But you go and you audition, and they hand you the card, and they do all this stuff, and do you say, "Well, gee, this is pretty easy, piece of cake"?
Yes. I thought, well, that wasn't so bad. I've got my equity card. I guess that's how things go. And only later did I begin to realize, that it always doesn't not work that way.
Right.
But if the role is right for me, if it requires my kind of singing and my kind of look, I had a good chance to be competitive. And so I landed a number of great roles and had a decent career through the years, and got to perform with more importantly, a lot of amazingly talented people, and learned a lot.
I think you just have to pinch yourself every day and say, "Is this really happening?"
Yeah, yes.
Right. I'm from Greenwood, South Carolina.
There's something in the water here, though, because there's so many people that do so well.
Keith Jameson,
Granger Hines.
Yep.
And we've got young people coming up. You mentioned Mr. McClendon and
right.
Some others that
really doing great things.
Great.
Yeah, and of course, did you act on the stage with McKellar?
I certainly did. He directed the first show I did in Greenwood as a 7-year-old I played one of the royal children in The King and I.
Well,
so there was some
poetic.
Look at
that.
Poetic, synchronicity, you
yeah.
know, in that. And yes, Donald, he was fantastic. I was here for the Bill Suber days, but Donald was always. He's cast me as Billy Bigelow as a senior in high school, and I was playing against Patrick, Mary Deck Patrick as Julie, who was about 15 years older than I was. So it was kind of a Harold and Maude thing, and
I need a little more age in there.
yeah,
but-
maybe a little more age. But it was, I had many mentors, including Donald McKellar and my piano teacher, Ann Arrington, and my choir master at First Baptist Church. And Greenwood was surprising. It might, to the outsider, look like an unlikely place. But as I look back on it, it was the place. Because I got a lot of attention. I'm thinking, God, what if I know a lot of my colleagues, they don't really have a hometown to go home to
Right.
that still think of them and support them. Their parents are either divorced or moved away, or they don't have their childhood home they grew up in. It's a unique story that I have, and I'm very grateful and feel privileged to the life worked out this way in spite of obstacles.
So what about the book now?
Yeah.
What about the book?
Yeah. Well, I guess I should start thinking about that. I
think you should.
Yeah.
You don't want to start losing any of these memories now.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Plus, there are some juicy Greenwood stories that I know about. I might have to change a few names.
The names have been changed to protect
The innocent.
No, to protect the guilty.
Guilty.
Yes.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, there are some juicy stories. That is true. So now, so that's kind of what you're doing, what you're going with, and real estate is good up there in New York City, and we should not be afeared to go. We should just jump on that plane and go up there and
Absolutely.
check out the town.
So pleasantly surprised, and you have to call ahead for reservations and stuff because, like I said, the city is brimming with business and fun and arts. The museums are filled, and it's interesting because during COVID, it was a ghost town. It was
Right.
really crazy, and we thought New York will never come back, And then there were wise sages saying, "No, it always comes back."
New York always comes back.
Yes, and after war, after the Second World War, or whenever it was, we were in bankruptcy at the end of the '70s with Mayor
Right.
Koch and everything, and but there's something about the spirit of New York and the people there that are kind of indefeatable.
You really felt that at 9/11.
Oh,
back then,
yeah, I'll bet. Yeah.
And the city just had this attitude of like, this is not going to get us down. We're going to rebuild. We're going to be better than before.
Yeah, I was there after 9/11.
you?
Actually went to the pit over
Oh,
there
wow.
where it was and
Yeah.
everything. Most interesting. And then got to go back when they built the plaza
Yes.
with the museum or whatever that goes straight up. And
Yeah.
it's a fantastic what's been built there.
Yeah. Yes.
It's incredible. Yeah, the pools of
Water going up.
on the original sites. Yes,
Yes.
it's very moving. My mom, who is 91, was up visiting earlier this year, and she came with my sister, and I visited there for the first time. The museum.
The museums.
The museum. And,
Takes your breath away.
It really does take you back, and it's very
It does.
sobering.
Yeah, it does. So, Joseph, now you said you were from Southern California. Do you ever go back there?
I do.
You do?
I do.
You
I
have
still have
family still there?
little family. Yes, a few family members are still there.
Okay. Where
So-
in Southern California?
I grew up in a town called Ontario, and I have a sister in San Diego and a sister in a town called Laverne,
Laverne.
which is outside of Pomona. And I have cousins in Los Angeles and cousins in around San Francisco, Modesto
So how do
area.
you like California now?
I like it. I mean, I tend to like wherever I am. I've traveled a lot and lived in Europe for a while, and I try not to miss where I'm not. So if I'm in California, I'm solidly in California.
California,
And
yeah.
I still feel like New York is my home as far as my profession and work and friends, but But I have dear, dear, dear friends there in California.
That's cool.
So-
That's cool. Well, we are going to hear, let's see, a quick word from our sponsors. If you're watching us on Facebook, you will have some music. If you're on the radio, you'll hear a quick commercial break. So I hope you'll stay right with us. Our very special guest today, Nat Chandler, who is a Greenwood native who went out into the world and made it big. And Joseph Thalke, a composer who's done all kinds of amazing things, and just last week was playing with Bernadette Peters. What could be better for our concert tomorrow night than to have two greats right here with us in Greenwood, South Carolina? We'll be right back. Don't you go away. Let's cue the music, Ann. Cue the music. Here we go. Yeah, we're right back here at WCRS. Are we on the radio? Yep, we're on the radio. Are we on the Facebook Live? Hold on a second. We've got that lovely picture of Ann up there. How about we look at Ann, actually? There she is, okay? All right, we're having a good time here with Nat Chandler, who is here. He is doing America's Songbook, I believe it's called, tomorrow night at the Art Center, along with his very famous composer, accompanist, Joseph Thalke, and they are here to entertain tomorrow evening. And you are privileged. If you get to go tomorrow night, well, then you'll already have a little leg up here. But if you don't get to go, at least you can say, I heard the interview, right? Yes. So we've been talking about all kinds of things here. Nothing that anybody would have thought that three people could sit down and talk about, but it's been pretty good so far, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. You're the best interviewer, Ann. I was just telling you, you're the people you're interviewing. You're only as good as your interviewer, and you're the best.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Really terrific.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Well, you got to have good guests, though.
Well,
I mean, you can't have somebody sit there and go, I don't know.
Yeah. Or one-word answers, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes it kind of hard. But anyways, tomorrow night you're going to be performing. Now, have you had an opportunity to check out the grand piano?
Yes, we just got back from rehearsing there.
How is it tuned? Because I understand we had someone come in and tune it. Is it tuned appropriately?
It is tuned, yes, very well.
Very well.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Just checking.
Yes,
Because, we're looking for a top-notch performance tomorrow night. Yes. And I know that it's got to be a little bit difficult just flying into an area. Have you been practicing that? I mean, how do you get ready for something like this? Do you go and when you're showing property, do you just break into song? Or
Well, you know what? It is funny because sometimes, Ann, you hit upon something that's kind of interesting. I do, after I show an apartment, and I don't have another appointment right after, I will stay and I will warm up my voice and maybe sing through a song that I'm having challenges with a memory about or for whatever reason. And I will kind of woodshed something in an empty bedroom with the doors closed. And so sometimes I do that. I rehearse in my own studio. What happens is I call up Joseph and months in advance to get his schedule so we can nail down some rehearsal times.
Right.
And then that usually coincides with a little dinner afterwards and, catching up with old friend kind of thing. And so we make a late afternoon, evening of our rehearsals.
So you still have to practice to keep your voice in shape now?
Well, yeah, it's like a car. It's like
Tuning up the car?
It's like a Mercedes-Benz. You need to keep
Well,
driving that car.
You didn't go too high, did you, on the level? A Mercedes? Would you prefer a Porsche?
Well,
what would you say?
well, I don't know. I do prefer a Mercedes over a Porsche, but whatever you want to call it, they need to be driven, and the voice needs to sing.
Yes.
And sometimes my days get away, and I don't get to sing every day, and I start, sounding like not so good in my ear, but so I do slow warm-ups and
Yeah, they're muscles, your throat, and your singing muscles.
I understand
Like
that. I'm a
going to the
talker.
gym.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and
you get it.
and the same with piano playing.
Yeah.
You can't go for weeks and not play and then expect to play like you were playing before. You have to keep in shape.
Now, you've got good-sized hands there, Joseph. I was just noticing those. Those are good-sized hands. I guess that means you can hit all these octaves and
I do my
stuff.
best.
You do your best? Yeah.
Not always successful, but
No, he's being modest because he really is the most in-demand pianist, music director, conductor in New York. And
And he's here in Greenwood.
he's here in Greenwood.
not for the first time either. I've been here probably a dozen times
Yeah.
over the years.
Have you?
For
Okay.
the Greenwood
Just-
Performing Arts and for various galas and things like that.
Right.
He's always makes me look better. And he makes
Oh, so
everyone
that's the real reason
Yes,
you haven't
well.
come along.
naturally. No, we try to complement each other, obviously.
Right.
Sure.
But I want Greenwood to have the very best kind of New York experience that they can. I was telling Joseph that, as a kid growing up in Greenwood, we called them the Greenwood Community Concerts at the time. And the Vienna Boys Choir came to Greenwood, or an orchestra. My parents or people like Joyce Nichols or somebody like that would always make sure I was in the seat. And I look forward to that. The big city. In the big city, you have the option of going to the ballet or the opera or whatever you want any night. But growing up here, when the big city came to Greenwood, you were there. And it made a huge difference in my cultural life and in Greenwood. And I'm so appreciative of this organization and the way it prioritizes arts. I know times are different now. The world is a little smaller. People go to Greenville at the top of the hat to see things, but I am. I really have a lot of respect for those people that take it on themselves to keep the arts supported in Greenwood, and I'm privileged and honored to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Legacy.
That Greenwood Performing Arts, I think, 75 years, something? It's been a long, long time.
Long time.
And they've always strived to bring, in fact, their outreach program, they used to have their outreach program. Of course, they used to perform at Lander, and they used to bring the students into the auditorium there at Lander. Well, now we take artists and actually go into the schools.
Yeah.
And I'm the outreach coordinator for that. And it is a phenomenal experience to see how students relate. And even ones that aren't musical love the experience.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's true. Kids I see, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, every Friday and Saturday night, they have a quintet of piano and strings playing, and young parents bring their children to set them up right in front. So, and the kids, when they're receiving the overtones of the music, they just are transformed. So the arts does have this power for the brain to open up things. They're just amazed to feel it all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you just look at music, look what it helps with. Math. You know, you've got to be able to count. You've got all these different aspects of what music does for the brain. And if a child is deprived of it, I think that they're just missing something.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Totally agree. And as a singer, we also, you keep oxygenated the body, because you're always, it's all about the breath and filling the lungs, and it's a kind of a high in a way to be able to sing.
Absolutely. We were at I think I was telling you off air, and I mentioned it this morning on my morning show, but we were out at the YMCA at their High Hopes program, and I was going out there to see the kids and see if there'd be any interest in doing some music. Well, come to find out, a lot of the students there had been in our program at Benjamin Mays, and one of the students stood up and started singing I Can Do Anything, which is his signature song.
Yeah.
If I have my education, I can do anything. And it was just such a great experience. So
great.
satisfying, I'm sure. I'm sure to be a part of that program.
Yes. And so that's what we try to do. We try to bring in artists and present them and let the students. We've done everything from drums to harmonicas. I like the harmonica now. I'm going to tell you what. I've got to learn the harmonica because it is such an individual instrument.
Yes.
It really is.
And you don't have to carry your piano around with you.
It travels so well.
Right.
There was an impresario on the old opera singer named Ira Tognoli. She lived in Asbury Park in one of those Charles Adams homes, and her husband was a professional harmonica player. He was recorded. There was a whole album of harmonica music, and but it is a unique instrument. My dad loved to play the harmonica.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. I'm learning to play the harmonica. So yes.
There are different ones and different keys and big ones and small
ones. I've got a collection of them. I don't know how to play all of them, but I've got them here and everything. But yeah, it's really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I even took my turkey call to the class the other day because I was like, this could be interesting. A turkey call is an instrument and it calls turkeys.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't even know what that is. A turkey call.
Anyways, back to the subject at hand. We are in the presence of Nat Chandler and Joseph Thalke, two greats directly from New York City. Here because of Greenwood Performing Arts, and this is going to be quite a show tomorrow night. If you don't already have your tickets, I'm sorry. The show has been sold out, but we decided to do this anyways because it would just be fun to get together and talk. I hadn't talked to Nat since 2015, and you're still doing great out there, changing things up, keeping it together, body and soul and mind, and
dropping and rolling when life requires it.
That's right. That's right. So that is great. And Joseph, how is it, Bernadette Peters? How is she? How is it to work for different performers? That doesn't have to be Bernadette Peters, but how is it to work? Are they difficult as we're led to believe?
No. If you're prepared and know your stuff, I would say 99% of them are great to work with. I work a lot with Patti LuPone. We've toured the country, toured Australia, and she's another one who sometimes gets a bad reputation, but she's as prepared as anyone else and just wants everyone else to be up to her level. Most of them have been, really a wonderful experience to travel with, to work with, to make music with. Mm-hmm. But everyone is different. Everyone kind of has a different way of phrasing. You sort of have to read their minds musically. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's easier to do that than others.
Right.
But I would say most of the time it's been a wonderful experience.
Do you ever sit there with a group of musicians and one's getting yelled at and you're sitting there going, oh, God, just don't let her yell at me?
Not for a long time.
Not for a long time?
Yes. Happy to say.
I have to say that the one real pleasant thing with Joseph, and one reason I feel that we have remained friends for so long, we have very compatible musicalities. Joe obviously is so musical, but I feel when he's doing something, we make music together. Mm-hmm. And if I'm feeling, it's almost like he's got ESP. He can slow down. We feel things at the same time, so we experience this joy of mutual music making, where other accompanists, let's say, you have to really spell it out and get over there and write down the bar line. Okay, we're going to have a rollantando here, and then repeat this 4 measures 3 times, and then, but all of a sudden you find Joseph just doing it, and you're like, yeah, that's what we like. And so anyway, it's easy, right?
Yeah, and it's like nonverbal communication.
Sure.
And sometimes in performance, things will happen slightly differently than you did in rehearsal. And you go with it. It's like playing tennis, and it's like, oh, they hit the ball over there. Well, I'm going to do this instead, and
right.
you're communicating, but through music. That makes it a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool, and that's what you were asking before. What makes us last, and I think we both enjoy that aspect of it. Yeah.
Well, and the fact to be able to improv and not destroy one another while you're doing it, right?
Yeah. Right. Yes, or melt down, and it doesn't help that Joe just has the most incredible facility at key changes. It's like, oh, this is a little low. Could we raise this key, or can we lower this key a half step or so? And he's like, yeah. And all of a sudden he's playing in a different key, the same music. And you as one of my friends described Joseph, he's a machine. He can just do it. He just does it incredibly with finesse and elan and great musicality. We're really fortunate to have.
Well, how did you know that this is what you wanted to do? Or did you? Or did you have another direction growing up and then you just kind of, it happened? I mean, what's your story, Joseph? What's your story?
I had other interests growing up, but not a lot of other ones. And music was always the strongest. And I started piano when I was very young, and it just came easily. I was reading notes before I was reading words, and it just sort of felt like that's what I should be doing.
Did your parents say you're going to take piano, or did you
say,
I want to take the piano,
Mother? My mom asked me if I wanted to take lessons from a local teacher, and I said sure. And then in 3rd grade, I switched to a teacher who taught at a nearby college, and never questioned whether I would not. I never thought of stopping. So
right. You never thought of
everyone around me was quitting piano lessons, and
right.
I thought, I don't hate it. Yeah, I like it. And so it always felt like a good fit.
Well, see, now I'll confess. See, I was taking piano when I was in the 1st and 2nd grade. Uh-huh. And I could play Peter the Wolf very well and sing at the same time and do the whole thing. Yeah. And then we moved to Maine. And my mother said, well, can I continue my piano lessons? I'm not getting you a piano.
Child abuse.
Yes.
So my career was upended at Peter and the Wolf.
Oh, that's too bad.
But anyways, I don't know what would have turned out. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I think she didn't enjoy listening to me practice or something. We lived in an apartment at the time.
Oh, I see.
And it wasn't like we had a place where you go in the other room, close 5 doors, and
Right.
practice if you must.
Right.
Well, that's terrific. So, how did you get to the composing end of things?
I started writing when I was a kid as well. At 6, I started writing little piano pieces, and I wrote a Latin mass when I was like 7 or 8, and not very good, but I wrote one.
You still have it?
I do, yeah.
Do you ever look back at it?
I sometimes come across it and laugh.
And laugh?
Yes. I had no idea about setting text.
Right.
But,
Joseph was commissioned by Main Street Methodist Church for their
oh, yeah. That's right.
sesquicentennial or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which anniversary it was, but it was
Right.
a magnificent piece.
But I started writing soon after starting to take piano lessons, and it just felt like a natural thing to do.
So when you got to be 12, 13, 14, you said, yeah, I think I want to be a composer and a grand pianist accompaniment. Is that what you said, or what were you thinking?
I wasn't thinking that far in advance at that age, but I did think that I enjoyed it, and I did start to take it a little more seriously. I read a book when I was 14 called The Great Pianists by the New York Times. He had long been dead, I think, but no, he was still alive at the time. Harold Schoenberg, who was the music critic for the New York Times, and he wrote this book about pianists up to the present day at the time, going back several centuries, and it really made me think, oh, if I work hard, maybe I can make something of this. And I hadn't thought about that before.
That's cool.
So yeah, it was a big inspiration to me.
That's cool.
And I told him, I met him years later, and I said, your book changed my life.
What did he say?
He said, oh, well.
Oh, well, I was glad to do it. Who are you, kid?
Exactly. That was more like it. Yeah.
Yeah, here you are giving this guy a compliment, and he's like, yeah, whatever, kid.
But you know what? When you're the beneficiary of that kind of compliment coming from somebody, it's hard to know what to say, because you don't really know how many lives you're touching out there, or who's looking up to you, or you're setting the bar.
I say that all the time to myself as I sit here on the radio. I had somebody say to me the other day, somebody told me you were talking about me. I said, really? People listen to me? I'm shocked.
Oh,
No, but
yeah. I mean, it's some people take compliments better than others, but you're aware that your job is to do the best that you can do, or write the best that you can write, and then if you reach an audience, that's wonderful, and you appreciate them appreciating you.
Right.
But we're all in the fishbowl together.
Well, I like to say when this life is done, I want to make sure I've done as good a job as I can do and
Absolutely.
influence as many people as I can, positively or negatively. But I want to be able to influence and be able to say I did a good job.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think both of you are in talents where that is something that you can look at and say, I did a good job tonight, or I did a good job this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are touched and moved, and moving people is the object, is the objective.
Right.
To have them take their mind off the tree that's on their house, or whatever it is. If you can, for an hour, get them off of that and get them into a fantasy world of romance and comedy and laughing and crying. It's a good thing.
The one thing we are missing in this world is true romance. I think we are missing romance in life. Mm-hmm. I mean, people get together and everything, but I'm talking about romance. Mm-hmm. The way it was when it was special to go out, or
Courting,
special to doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's admirable to do that. And I think that Greenwood Community Theater does a great job with their theater presentations. They just did Clue, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And, of course, we've had so much talent with the seniors that just graduated and have gone on to college now. It's kind of neat to see new people coming on board to fill the roles that they kind of took because they were the best, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have a new crop. It's like professionals. There's a new crop of great lyric baritones coming to New York every year. And
Well, how do you feel about that?
well,
Nick?
I hate it.
I figured.
No, more competition. I know. It's just, like we were saying, you do the best you can do. I'm not particularly a competitive person, but, you do
I'll
the...
bet at one time you were.
Well, somewhat.
Yes.
I try to be. But once again, you can only do as well as you can do. And,
Correct.
And,
But it
if you're...
takes a long time to figure that out, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It
Because
does.
you go through a lot of hurt and a lot of pain.
Heartache,
Yep.
everything.
Right.
And then you realize, okay, you look at your career compared to somebody else's and you can feel good or you can feel terrible, It's like, well, this...
We started at the same time, and look at that person.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That happens.
But you have to remember why you went into it in the first place, which is the love for music, the love for theater, the love for the arts. And you have to always remember that just when you're going through a hard time, just like at least I'm pursuing something that I love.
Yeah, it's almost a noble pursuit
That's true.
because
That's
it's
true.
risky and, yeah.
Well, this has been quite a joyful afternoon. A break from your rehearsals.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and for those that will be there tomorrow night, you don't want to miss a minute of it. Make sure you're there early to enjoy the whole evening. And it's the first performance of the new Greenwood Performing Arts season. And I think you might still be able to talk to Lisa about some season tickets, a golden ticket. Even though you won't be able to come to this one if you're not signed up, you may be able to work that out and see some of the other greats that we're going to have next year. Starting, let's see, who do we have coming up? Do we have something coming up? Yes, no, do we? I don't know. Do we have something in December? I can't remember right off the bat. We've got the Nutcracker. We've got the Nutcracker here.
Nice.
Yes, that's a lovely. They come down from Greenville and they do the Nutcracker, a shortened version for the children.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that'll be going on, and then in January we kick off with a whole slew of events. So Nat Chandler, let's not make it. 7, 8,
Yes,
10 years.
Ann.
Almost 10 years. 10 years.
I
since
know.
the
I've
last
missed
time.
you, Ann. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. I've missed you. And Joseph Thalke, so nice to meet you.
Pleasure
and
to meet you.
Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. I understand I'm going to be videotaping you tomorrow night.
Oh,
It is moi.
okay.
It is moi that will be on the video camera.
Toi. Okay.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Well, merci beaucoup,
Oh,
madame.
right, yes. It'll be the rough video. You can do with it as you please.
Thank
I'm
you.
not editing it, but
Thank
I
you.
will have a
A
beautiful
little document of
video.
it. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate it. And I think, there might be a couple of seats at the back. If you really do need a ticket, call Lisa Sanders. I think she might be able to finagle something for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do that. It is at the Art Center tomorrow night. So thank you so much for coming out. And you know what I get to do now? I get to go see Alice in Wonderland Jr. at the Greenwood Performing Arts Center. Have you been to that since they built? I bet you haven't.
No.
The Greenwood Performing Arts Center. Beautiful center over there.
Where?
And it's right there at the high school. At the high school.
The big theater.
The big
yeah, I have
theater.
not seen it.
Yeah, so they are going to be performing. And somebody said you probably are too busy, but if you wanted to come, they'd love to give you tickets to go. So
That's
how
very
about that?
sweet. That's very sweet. We'll talk about it. We'll
Okay,
see.
well, that would be terrific. So thank you so much for coming out today.
Pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Our
This has
pleasure.
been great. Let's see if I can get everybody out of here now. This is always a challenge, but I'm going to do it. We are finished here. This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and good night. I'll be back in the morning with more stories and tales to tell. Bye, everybody.